right. Good evening, everyone. I am your host, Marwan Cameron. This is the Conduit Entertainment. Tonight we have a very special show for you. We have the president of the NAACP. So we will bring just a second. Want to make sure that everything is looking good. Couple things of housekeeping. As I mentioned earlier, the severe weather shelter is open, so please get that information out. Let folks know they can call 211. We actually hold a contract with the county, so G2 will be the ones to pick up folks and get them to the severe weather shelter. There is no severe weather shelter in Bremerton, so got to get them out to Paulsbo or Harbor, Port Orchard, or Silverdale. So please give us a call and please let folks know we don't want anyone to be unhoused under these conditions. It is 7:06 in Kitsap County. It is 38 degrees. And as you know from the thumbnail, we are dealing with the issue in Mason County. And our local chapter of the NAACP has gotten involved and is advocating for the kids. And so we wanted to hear from them in regards to what happened, what's going on, what's the progress, and what are the next steps. Introduce you. This is the first time that he has been on to the Conduit, Robert Harris. So we're going to go ahead and give him a round. All right, let's go ahead and bring him on up. If it'll let me bring him up. All right. How you doing there, Mr. Harris?
Doing well. How's everyone doing?
Well, I am blessed and highly favored. I'm so glad that you can join us this evening. I don't want to jump right into it because this is your first time coming on. If you would you tell us a little bit about yourself, so the audience knows who you are for new viewers. I know you're out in the community, so a lot of people already know who you are, but just tell us a little bit about yourself, and it'll be a learning experience for myself also.
Okay. I'm originally from Alabama, a little small town called New Brockton. Moved up here about 29 to 30 years ago now, roughly. Um, got on with the Washington State Department of Transportation. Have worked there for approximately 28 or 29 years, both permanent and temporary. Um, my my job that pays the bills. I am a construction oversight supervisor, which is it's an unlicensed technical engineer position. When right now we're overseeing a bunch of the Sound Transit Light Rail projects. Um, come from a pretty big family, back in the South and up the eastern seaboard there. Um, yeah, I guess that's pretty much the long and short of it.
How long have you been NAACP president?
This will be just 1 year. So this will be my first year.
What made you want to take on that role?
Just being more involved in the community. I have to just be honest. For a while I was just kind of sitting on the sidelines. Before I moved over to Kitsap County. I always went out to vote and always helped out. If my community needed it over there, but I still just kind of felt like I was sitting on the sidelines and I wasn't involved enough. And moving over to Kitsap County and meeting the people who are out here and understanding it's one of the most progressive counties in the state, just made me want to be more involved. And that's why I decided I wanted to be the NAACP Bremerton
All
President.
right. Well, I appreciate that. And, we definitely need to have you on for a proper interview where we're just kind of talking about you and the NAACP as an organization and kind of holistically what the NAACP is doing. But we're here for a specific purpose this evening. And so the audience is well aware of what's going on in Mason County. And so what I wanted to do this evening is kind of get it from the president of the NAACP. And so there's 5 questions that we're going to go through. What happened at Mason High School in regards to the viewpoint of the NAACP, what happened in regards to meetings, and then we'll go into the letter that the NAACP has pushed out into the community, and then we'll talk about the action items that the districts have agreed to, and then we'll talk about next steps. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into the first one. Welcoming people in to the show. Welcome. This is The Conduit. Tonight is our interview with Robert Harris of the NAACP, and we are discussing the issue with the girls volleyball team, Bremerton High, and the incident that occurred at Mason County High School. So, number one, what happened at Mason High School in regards to how the NAACP, what you were told?
So we were informed shortly after the incident happened. I think we got a text or an email saying that there was a racial harassment incident at North Mason High School on October 18th during a sporting event. So I reached out to North Mason shortly after the incident, asked if we could have a meeting because I wanted to go down and investigate and find out what happened. And so we were able to get that meeting set up. Andre Henderson, which is the second vice president for the NAACP Bremerton Branch, and I both went down to have a meeting with the North Mason school officials. So we met with the president, we met with the principal. We met with the assistant superintendent for North Mason. The principal for Bremerton was there. There were some other advisors from Bremerton, and there were some other advisors from North Mason there as well. The athletic director for North Mason was there. We were able to view a partial video of the incident, which occurred right after the girls' volleyball game. And then, so after viewing the video, we made some suggestions as to how they can improve safety for our young people when they are at school-sponsored events, and
So
ensure that no one's being harassed or things of that nature.
let me jump in and ask, what did the video show? I had the kids on last week, 3 of the
hmm
5 to 7 girls, and some of their parents, and they haven't seen the video. So what was in the video, the partial video that you saw?
Yeah, and I'm just going to keep it a high clip. I'm not going to get into all the details of what was
Yeah,
on the
I
video.
understand.
Um, so the video shows volleyball game has ended. We have the Bremerton girls volleyball team leaving. There's a group of boys that are in the hallway, sitting on a bench, and the bench is recessed behind the wall, so you can't really see exactly who they are. As the girls are leaving, it appears that one of the boys or a couple of the boys said something to one of the girls. It appeared that it wasn't anything. It was something negative because there was an immediate response, from one of the girls from North Mason. There was an adult female from North Mason that came over and got involved with the situation, um, speaking to the children, speaking to the kids, inappropriately, the Bremerton girls. Um, Things kind of spilled outside. So, and there was not a clear video of everything that transpired outside. The video that we have was somewhat grainy, but you can kind of make out, there's some people outside. You can kind of make out you can see where the Bremerton, volleyball teams are, and then some of the kids from North Mason, and, some adults from North Mason who were also involved with this incident. There's some verbal back and forth outside. Um, it appears to show someone from Bremerton, from the Bremerton side, trying to go back in. There's an adult female that comes out, intervenes. She's kind of got her hands out. You can kind of make out she's got her hands out to the side, and doing that underhand kind of shooing motion, like, hey, go, don't go back in. Exactly.
Mhm.
Um, there's some more verbal back and forth outside. There's an adult male that comes up, and they've identified that person that they have spoken with that individual. I don't have his name, but
And
like
there's
you
no
said, if you
audio,
speak
right?
up,
This is just video.
no, this is just video, no audio to this at all. So again, that's why I say it's a partial video of what transpired. My understanding that he's the person who came up and made that animals comment was a person of color. To the Bremerton girls. There's some more verbal back and forth. I think I remember seeing some video of someone getting their cell phone or something smacked out of their hands, and then shortly after that, everybody starts to disperse, and the girls get on the bus, and that's pretty much the end of it.
So can I ask, did it does the video that you saw corroborate what the girls were feeling and experienced based on the story that they were telling without having the audio there?
I would say for the most part, yes. I mean, I believe that those young ladies when they went to that event, and what happened afterwards with the young men from North Mason, they felt like they were under attack and they felt like they had to defend themselves.
So, there was a meeting that the NAACP had with both sides. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So again, we met with officials from both Bremerton and North Mason. Um, again, after reviewed the video, we made some suggestions as to how they could improve safety, for for all of these school athletes when they're coming to any school sponsored sporting event. Um, I think having those kids coming out the same, everybody coming out of the same area, at the same time is just it's probably not a good idea. So some of the things that the schools have agreed to do is one, have a separate egress point for visiting teams. Both schools have agreed that these kids when they are at sporting events, you need to make sure they are properly supervised. Um, they have also agreed to have some additional racial sensitivity training throughout the year. Um, the schools have both started that process, and I need to follow up and see exactly where they are with that. But it sounds like they are implementing that as part of their home rooms for the kids. So they'll be doing that periodically throughout the year. Also, they are working to put on a joint statement, or they are drafting a joint statement from both schools, which I just recently received. That I haven't had a chance to fully review it and um, provide my uh, provide my comments back. So I am working on that. We've also asked that once we get this get these action items, to become a reality and get them in full swing here, we want to make sure that this is going um, league wide to all of our Kitsap, Mason, and Jefferson County schools here. With see if we can intervene and make sure that things like this aren't happening at future sporting events. So I know that the superintendent from North Mason has been working with the schools, and same thing with Bremerton. So I will have to follow up to see exactly where they are with the process. But I know that those action items are in process.
All right. So we have an agreement for separate egress points, so the kids will leave in different ways so that they're safe, right? Tensions and
Okay.
emotions can be high after a game. Adult
Sure.
supervision, sensitivity training, and then the last one was a joint letter from both Mason County and Bremerton High School.
Yeah. Well, North Mason High School and Bremerton High School about the
And
incident
Bremerton High School.
and what they are doing.
Do you know what the sensitivity training would include and who would participate in that? Staff, kids?
Well, it's going to be staff, kids, as well as parents of said kids. So, both schools want to make sure that racial harassment is not going to be tolerated at any level, at any time, at any of these schools. I mean, there's no place for it in the world anyway. And so they are working to hopefully mitigate future occurrences of this issue. I don't know exactly what that entails in regards to, since they are just developing the process. The only thing I can say is, again, they are um, starting that process in their homerooms with the kids.
All
And
right.
I know that North Mason also has it in their student handbook. And from my understanding is that students there have to take a test after that information has been reviewed, so they understand racial sensitivity. But
That
it's,
that's
it's always good. That's at North Mason.
okay, and that's new. They're doing that
No, that's
now.
something that they've been doing. It's my understanding.
They've been doing. Okay.
Yes. But it's good to have refreshers. I think periodic refreshers of racial sensitivity training will go a long way for both staff, students, and parents. And we also wanted to make it clear that if we do have parents that are engaging these students in the fashion that we saw on the video, that there needs to be a stern message to them that they're not going to be welcome to come back to any of these events. So again, that's something we're still working with the schools as to what that actually looks like. So those are the
Absolutely.
those are the initial action items.
Well, let me share the letter that the NAACP sent out for some of the viewers that may not have seen this letter that went out to community members, and I'll read that. The NAACP Bremerton Branch Unit 1134 has been working with both North Mason and Bremerton High Schools regarding the reported racial harassment incident that occurred at North Mason High School on October 18, 2022 during a school sponsored sporting event. The president and vice president of the NAACP Bremerton Branch Unit 1134 met with officials from both schools to investigate this incident. Part of this meeting included viewing a partial video of the incident in question, which is what Robert has shared with us. During the meeting, the NAACP Bremerton Branch Unit 1134 requested several action items to be taken to address the safety of our youth during school sponsored activities. Some of these actions are noted in the attached link to the community update letter. Both schools have agreed to implement these action items. I believe their acceptance of these action items is in step in the right direction for our community. The NAACP the NAACP Bremerton Branch Unit 1134 will continue to work with both schools to implement the action items noted in the attached letter, as the safety of our youth is the utmost importance, and ensure there will be zero tolerance racial harassment anywhere. Respectfully, Robert Harris, NAACP President. And I didn't see the attachment when I got this letter, so I didn't have that. But it sounds like that was the 5 things that you kind of laid out as the action items.
Yes. So that was language I sent over for the secretary to send out with the attached letter. She just recently sent out an updated correspondence to the community, with the letter attached. But yes, those action items are what I just verbally communicated.
So let's go into the next steps here. So one, you talked about, checking in and seeing where they're at with the sensitivity training. You have to check out the joint letter that they put out, and
Mhm.
then keep an eye to ensure that they are indeed making sure that, these things are in place, right? The separate egress, that there is ample adult supervision to protect these children while they're playing sports,
Yes.
and that the sensitivity training is being taken. What I want to ask you is there anything being done in regards to, one, the children have, talked about, adults laying hands on them. They said there were two adults that had laid hands on them. My concern is this. In the Kitsap Sun, there were two articles, one from the superintendent of Mason County High School, and then one from the gentleman who's running for sheriff, who said, "Hey, I did the investigation, and there's nothing to see here." My concern is that the article was quite biased in that there was no conversation with anyone from Bremerton in that article. And there's these allegations that are out here, and we know that our kids will get ISS, in school suspension, for those of you that don't know what that is, suspended or expelled we get treated with zero tolerance all the time. And here, it doesn't seem like, the law enforcement has done their due diligence in Mason County. Is there any follow-up and next steps in regards to that with law enforcement and also with our local paper?
Yeah, we'll be reaching out to law enforcement to find out exactly what was the context of their investigation, so what could cause them to formulate the article that went out when this was in the Kitsap Sun. So I'll need to touch bases with them to see what that is. In regards to the interview with the young ladies, where they said that there were some people that put their hands on 'em, I mean, I they should go file a complaint with the police department. Do we know if they've done that?
That I do not know.
So I
I
think
can't confirm that.
that would be one of the first steps. If they feel like they were assaulted, someone put their hands on them. I mean, I think there's enough video to kind of determine who those individuals are.
Okay.
So I would suggest that if those young ladies felt like they were assaulted, they should go file a complaint with the police department and get that process moving. And we can follow up with them on that.
All right. That I like to hear that for sure. Um, so in regards to the sensitivity training and kind of following up there, I'm hearing this the first time because you and I are having this conversation. So I'm a little alarmed to hear that North Mason already has a sensitivity training and they have the kids that take a test, but these things, has still transpired. So my question is how is the sensitivity training going to be different so that hopefully the outcome is going to be uh different in the future, right? And then, what's is it a mistake or is this what's in a person? Does training change it? You know what I'm saying?
So
Like,
I think it's a process that's in development, right? I mean, they're restarting this, so I can't give you all the details as to what it's going to look like, because they are, again, it's something new that they're going to be starting. In regards to the refresher training itself, um, I'll see if I can get a copy of the North Mason student handbook to see what they've already done in regards to ensuring that their kids are aware or have this racial sensitivity training and what that test looks like. So I'll see if I can get a copy of that information and share that with the community. But just like I know, um, kids, they take a test, or they read this information, they take a test, and they're probably like the most of us. They kind of push it to the back, right? Versus it not being constantly on their mind. So I think having the refresher training periodically throughout the year will keep it fresh on their mind, so they can be more conscious about that type of thing.
I think that would be really helpful. And, something I want to add here, and I don't know if I've seen that in many of the sensitivity or diversity trainings that I've been in, but we know that one, you know, there's racist and, bias and discrimination and prejudice. These are all very different things, right? Racism has a component of power to it. And, racism gets thrown around and reverse racism and fictitious things like that, which is absolutely incorrect. However, you can have some pretty strong discriminations, even within BIPOC organization or BIPOC folks, right? So you have colorism, right? You've got Afro Latinos and you have Euro Latinos, right? And so there's issues almost with every demographic of people, no matter where you go on the globe, right? And so I've heard this isn't the first time I've heard, the gentleman who said, "Well, you're going to treat them. They're going to act like animals. We're going to treat them like animals." It's like, oh, well, that person was a person of color, so it's like it makes it okay, right? It's like, hey, well, it's one black person calling another one the N word, so it's all good. It's like,
No,
no, no, that's not good.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it makes it okay when somebody's saying that. I think just stating the facts.
Hmm.
Because I mean, there was a lot of discussion as to what happened during that time. I mean, I heard all types of things, but after seeing the video and seeing who that individual was, again, I'm just stating the facts. So
Mhm.
don't take it as me saying if it's a person of color, it's okay. It's not okay. Um, for any adult to come up and be saying anything to those young ladies um, is inappropriate. Parents should, again, for lack of better words, stay in your lane. That stuff never should have happened. All those kids should have been appropriately supervised, and that didn't happen. So at the end of the day, um, those two schools let those kids down.
Mhm.
That's really the bottom line. And but I will say that the schools are owning that, and they are taking actions to improve um, the safety for these young athletes when they are at North Mason or Bremerton or Central Kitsap, whatever school they're at. So I will give them credit for at least acknowledging those failures and saying, hey, we need to do something here to improve the style of life for these young folks when they come over here in this environment. So that's where things are right
And I think it is important to note that as mad and as frustrated as we can be as community members, at some point there has to be a pathway forward, right? You can be angry, but you still got to move forward. And also, to be fair, I wasn't suggesting that that's how you felt about the gentleman because he was a person of color that you were stating the facts. I've actually heard that several times from different outlets, right? That
now.
oh, it was a person of color, right? And we know in the media when that is kind of pushed out there. It's almost like a justification when folks use it that way. So I just wanted to
No,
call that out.
I appreciate you, bringing it up so that we can state that, it's not okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, appreciate the fact. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a platform to educate and to elevate, and hopefully to build community and relationship, right?
Mhm.
But a lot of that gets left out, and I think that could be problematic. But if
Yeah.
you
And that,
have this,
Marwan, and
oh, go ahead.
I think that's the thing to move. That's the way to move forward. In my opinion. I listened to your interview with those young ladies, and uh, just jumping back to the incident with the adult who came up and said what he said. You
Hmm.
know, if my memory serves me well, I think they stated in the video that even the parents from North Mason, some of the parents from North Mason, were surprised by this individual saying what they said.
Yeah.
And started to get away from the incident. So that just tells you that there's not everybody there was in this negative mode and saw what happened. It's like, hey, let's move on. Let's move away from this situation. And I also heard those young ladies say that they've had to tell their story countless times, right? And you know if you are having to relive something that like this that just transpired with them or to them, it's traumatic. And to have them continue to relive it by telling their story over and over and over again to every person that they run into, it's like it's never going to die. And I think it's traumatic to those young ladies. So I agree with them when they said that, hey, they want to find a path forward, they want some accountability, and they want to see what those items look like.
So that's an excellent question. And so what I want to ask you next is in the next steps, right? You have, the NAACP, right? The bastion of um, standing up for rights for everyone. You have parents, you have, organizations, Black Student Union, our gyms, others, right? Kitsap Surge, you name them, they're there.
Mhm,
You have regular, just everyday folks, right?
mhm,
Parents, citizens, right? That are all wanting to weigh in and wanting to get involved. Um, I'm going to ask you, as the president of the NAACP, what are the most effective ways that we can be of help and kind of go forward? And I'll share with you my viewpoint, which you could probably see, right? The thumbnail says boycott, right? My feeling on it is we have to have a zero tolerance. Right now, if you're looking in the media, you see what's happening with Kyrie Irving and Kanye, and I kind of feel with their um, people should have the right to say what they want to say, and we're not going to get to what was said or whatever. But in regards to Kanye, he has been canceled, right? I mean, you're talking about taking bank accounts and everything else. They've stripped everything. But for us, it seems like, the Tucker Carlsons and others can either do, overt or, implicit, every form of racism possible, but these things still stand, right? And so we don't have the power to hold these groups accountable or individuals accountable. But during the civil rights era, boycotting was one of the most effective tools that we had to get people to change. And so I feel like 2022, some of the things we need to go back to is yes, there's a time for holding signs, there's a time for talk, but there's also a time for, hey, people understand green at the end of the day. And although my daughter is a junior high student in the CK school district, next year she's in track and field. She'll probably be at Mason County. I'm not going to be at every track meet. How do I know that my daughter's going to be safe out there? I want her to be able to just run and be free. I want her to be a child. I don't want her to have to go and deal with monkey sounds and have an incident and this and that. And so, for me, I'm like, hey, you boycott until there's some change, right? And then, the change is in, you bring folks back in. I'm not about canceling people forever. But that's my thing. But for as the president of the NAACP, can you guide the community in the best ways to kind of go forward? Is it all of the above? Is it get in groups? What are your thoughts?
I think we want to see what those action items look like and make sure they come to reality. Um, both schools have stated they're on board. Now, I think that there probably is a time to take some more detailed action. If we're not seeing any fruit from these conversations, but I want to give them an opportunity to put these action items on the table and make them a reality. And then I think after that, if we're not seeing anything, there definitely needs to be some follow up. And I think as far as the community, um, I think help supporting your NAACP and helping support and supporting all these other organizations that are working in the community to stand against any type of racial harassment and community improvement and things of that nature is what we need, because unity is power. And if we can continue working together as a united front against anything like this that we are alerted to or become aware of, I think that's the way to move forward and ensure that our message is getting out to um, people who are doing these type of things.
All right, I appreciate that. Here is where you can see the kids interview. As Robert was saying, the kids have said they're exhausted with telling their story. So if you want to hear, you can click on that link and you can listen to their story. Some of the other kids and parents organized to come on as we speak. So there may be a follow up coming soon. And so one of the things that you said that I like is in regards to me, right? I'm not really hearing too many other people saying boycott, right? That might seem like the nuclear option, but what you're saying is, hey, it's not saying that it's off the table. You're saying, hey, let them see if they actually implement the things that they said they were going to do, give them the opportunity, and if they don't, is that a fair assessment
Yeah,
there?
I've always believed in giving someone or an entity an opportunity to be successful and help give them the tools to be successful. And some of those tools is making sure that we support that effort. So as long as they're moving forward in that fashion, and hopefully this is something again that I would hope to go um, league wide, in regards to all of these high school all sports organizations here in Kitsap, Mason, and Jefferson counties. So I'm hoping this information gets shared, so
Mhm.
that they can take a look at their programs and say, hey, if this happened here, it could happen here, right? So let's go ahead and take some preemptive action to see what we can do to improve things. Because again, like I said earlier, those schools acknowledge that, hey, they let those kids down, and they want to make sure that they don't do anything like that in the future.
Absolutely. You talked about, getting involved with the NAACP or donating or volunteering. There were people.
You're kind of broken up, Marwan. I didn't catch that.
I was saying, hold on, let me turn my camera off here. It's election day, so I've got a lot of windows open tonight. Already done an election until 8 p.m. tomorrow to vote. If you were previously incarcerated and you are no longer incarcerated, you can vote tomorrow. So that's really important. You just need to come down to one of the locations and do it in person. And then for next year, you can do it online or do your mail ballot. Uh, do get involved. It's super important. So I encourage everyone to exercise uh, their right, their privilege of voting. And I always tell folks, I don't care who you vote for, but and even if you don't vote, right, that is actually a vote. But do understand who's running, why, look into it. It's definitely important. And if you're going to change things, you gotta you gotta get involved. They're not going to change on their own. So tomorrow
Absolutely.
is the election. And anything you want to say about voting? NAACP is definitely a big proponent of voting.
Yeah, I agree with Marwan. Go get out and vote, people. We people die so that people of color can go vote. So it's important that you have this opportunity to voice your opinion about who you want representing you. Please don't sit on the sideline. If you're not registered to vote, get registered to vote. Get those ballots back in. Like Marwan said, you have till 8 o'clock tomorrow. It's very, very important. So please get your ballots in. Um, who you decide to vote for is totally up to you, but please go vote.
All right. So my final question was how to involved or donate to the NAACP.
So you can go to our website, and that website is um, NAACP Bremerton.org to become a member of the NAACP. You can also reach out to us directly at NAACP Bremerton at yahoo.com, in regards to if you want to become a committee member or something of those lines. We definitely need support in some areas like legal redress. We're trying to start a community outreach team, and a component of this community outreach team, which Second Vice President Shannon Turner has been working on, is actually having more of a presence in the schools. And so I know
Mm.
that he's been reaching out to some of the schools and trying to develop what that process looks like. I know, and I think we have a ton of organizations here in Kitsap County that are already working with our young folks. So we're hoping to start working with them and then develop a program to get into some of these schools and start talking about these talking about racial equity and equality. And I think that would be an excellent tool for us to reach a lot of young people in the area, and then also again that will help curtail any racially motivated events. So we're hoping to get that implemented, but we do need support to help get that program up and operational. We also want to redevelop our youth program within NAACP. I've been
Ah.
going to these national conventions, and I see these youth they come in with these beautiful projects, and every time I see them, I'm like, man, we should have a team of youth that are coming from the Bremerton area or the Kitsap County area that are coming in to represent, you know, our community. So I'm hoping we can start working on some of those things, hopefully next year, and take the team, to the next convention that's coming up. And we have individuals like Karen Vargas that works with youth, Jules working with you. So we're going to try and see if we can't get together with them and start collaborating to get these kids more incorporated into NAACP and hopefully redevelop our youth program.
Wow, I like it. Awesome. So, all right, I got for those that have not really been a part of an organization, what is the requirements to be part of the NAACP? Like, is there meetings or what does that look like? People are always like, "Hey, I kind of want to get involved, but I don't know what's going to be required." So then they kind of don't really inquire.
Pretty easy. And I've had people who, I was just recently at the Resiliency Summit, and I had some people come up to me who were not people of color and asking, can they even join the NAACP?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's open for everybody. Um, Go back and look at some of those historical photos of the sit-ins or people marching with Dr. King. There's a proverbial melting pot of people out there. Black, white, Hispanic, Latino, you name it, right? So don't feel like because you're not black, you can't join the NAACP. The NAACP is for the community, and we want everybody to feel part of this organization. So you can go to our website, sign up. Again, you can send us an email if you're interested in being on some of our committees. We can, let you know what those committees are. Like I said earlier, we have an outreach committee that we're trying to develop. We have a legal redress team. Um, we are trying to work on, developing a youth committee so we can reestablish our youth program within the NAACP organization. So the NAACP is for everyone. So if you want to join, we'd love to have you. We have our meetings every fourth Monday of the month at 6:30. We try to have special guests, periodically that talk about things that are going on in the community. We recently had Judge Tracy Flood. We also had Daryl Riley come on and talk about his experience in regards to small business and getting started. Um, and some other programs that we're working on that community don't know about is we're trying to work with some businesses in the area that want to get into schools and start training kids about in regards to entrepreneurship.
Oh, nice.
So, even though we seem like we're somewhat, you may think we're idle, but behind the scenes we're still working on things. We have a community law enforcement dinner that we host every year. That we sit down with law enforcement and talk about things that are going in the community, how we can improve things in the community. So that's always a great event. So we're trying to stay active and stay on top of things that are happening. So even if we seems like the NAACP is kind of in a holding pattern, we are actually not. We're really staying active behind the scenes.
Well, there was a lot that the NAACP was doing during COVID, but we'll wait for that when you come back on and give us a more, further in depth, introduction into the NAACP. I really appreciate you coming on. Again, and we share that's naacpbremerton.org. The email is naacpbremerton@yahoo.com. Both of those are in the chat for you, and meetings are every fourth Monday of the month via Zoom. So I would say consider coming to the meeting this month. There's no time like the present. Get involved. There's something there for everyone, and it is for everyone. So that's one of the biggest takeaways that I took from listening to you just now. So we appreciate our guest, Robert Harris, coming on, president of NAACP Unit 1134. Again, the link is in the chat if you want to listen to the kids' interview. We will keep in touch and keep you updated as things progress. And if you have any questions, you know how to email the NAACP. If you do reach out through the conduit, I will submit information and questions that way also. Any final word for the evening there, sir?
No, I think it's very important that we continue to support our youth in the community. I want to commend these parents for their parents for coming on and and supporting their youth, and know that we from the NAACP want to support the entire community and make sure that again the safety of these kids when they go to these sport events is of the utmost importance. They should be able to go to the event, like you were saying earlier, Moan. You know, participate, get back on the bus and get home, and parents don't have to worry. And that's what we really want. And again, we want to make sure that we don't continue to have these young folks who experience this issue relive it again and again and again. That just, in my opinion, just can't be healthy. I appreciate them sharing their story. Um, and I'm looking forward to getting the information from the North Mason and Bremerton to make sure that they are following up on these action items and they are becoming a reality. And once I have that information, we will be posting that on our website as well as sending it out via email to the community in an updated letter. So I plan to make sure I keep the community updated as to where those processes are.
All right. Well, thank you for that. We're going to give you a round of applause again. We appreciate your time this evening. And for Robert Harris, President of the NAACP Unit 1134, I am Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit. We will see you next time. Make sure you vote.
Good night,